Thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to give it just another minute to let people finish joining in. Okay, thank you guys for joining us today in our property owner webinar series. Today's topic is going to be the 2023 protest process. I'm Marya Crigler. I'm the Chief Appraiser of Travis Central Appraisal District. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A section and just submit your questions in the Q&A. After we get through the presentation, we'll come back to the Q&A questions and answer as many as we can in the time that we have allotted. So again, feel free to put your questions in the Q&A and we'll circle back at the end and answer any questions that have been posted. So we'll start off with our protest process, and you probably have seen this kind of flyer in your notice of appraised value. It just kind of explains the steps in the process. The first step is that you file your protest. The deadline is May 15th, or 30 days after the notice is mailed. The next step would be to have an informal meeting, and we'll be doing informal meetings from April 17th to June 30th. Those are optional, but I do encourage property owners to take advantage of the informal meeting with the appraiser. And then the third step would be to attend your ARB hearing, and those will start sometime in June. You can resolve your protest at any point in this process, and we'll give you a little bit more details about what that really looks like. So the very first part of it is the notice of appraised value, and we send that out every April. They go out in mid-April, and they are released in a rolling basis. The last batch was sent out just last week, so the last of them property owners should be receiving in the mail this week. Again, those are the notices of appraised value. We have another webinar on our website all about understanding your notice of appraised value. And we go through and we explain each section of that notice of appraised value. So if you've got questions about the actual notice, we encourage you to watch that video. But essentially, the notice of appraised value is going to give you the value that we've placed on your property. It'll tell you what your market value is, which is what the property would sell for. It'll give you your assessed value or your net appraised value, and that's the reduced value of your property after the homestead limitation calculation, if you have a homestead exemption on your property. And then finally, it'll give you your taxable value, which is your value after any exemptions, and that's the value that is actually used to calculate your property taxes. When you get your notice of appraised value, we always remind people, do not panic about your notice of appraised value. Changes in your property value may affect your bill, but they don't necessarily increase or decrease the total amount of taxes that are paid to a taxing unit. That's determined by the taxing unit's budget. And we've got another website, travistaxes.com, that can help you see a breakdown related to your property taxes. That gets updated every August as the taxing units start talking about their budgets and setting their tax rates. And I know our values went up significantly last year, but a lot of property owners saw their taxes actually go down. And that's because of the tax rate and tax rate compression, and those have an equal amount of impact on your overall tax bill. Really important for you guys to understand that assessed value and your net appraised when you're looking at your notice of appraised value. The assessed value is the reduced value after your homestead limitation. So a lot of people hear of it, they think of it as the 10% cap. It's often called. That's the limitation if you've got a homestead, but it only is if you have a homestead exemption on your property. So that market value is whatever the property would sell for. The assessed value or net appraised is the one that has the limitation because of your homestead. And that distinction is really important for you to understand. So on your notice of appraised value, and here's just a sample, you'll see in this case, this property has a market value of $410,000, but it has an assessed value of $382,000. That's less than the market value. When you protest with the appraisal district, you're protesting the market value. And we talk about what your property would sell for, we can make that adjustment. The assessed value is a state mandated calculation. It's last year's assessed value plus 10%, whichever is lower. That's a state mandated calculation. You can't protest that state mandated calculation. You can protest the market value of your property. And if you've got a question about the homestead limitation, we also have a video on our website, on our videos page, that's all about understanding the homestead limitation. So we can give you more information about that in that video. But again, the assessed value is the limitation value. If you purchased your home in January or March of 2021, then January 1st of 2022, set the base value for your limitation. That's your starting point. And January 1st of 2023 would be the first year that you would see the benefit of that 10% limitation calculation. Again, if you are protesting your property value, you're protesting your market value. But again, you can protest the market value. You file a protest with the appraisal district. The general deadline to file a protest is May 15th. If your notice went out in one of the later batches, your date may be a little bit later. It's 30 days after the notice was mailed. But for the majority of property owners, that deadline is May 15th. Whenever filing your protest, it is always better to be early rather than late. So we strongly encourage property owners, if you want to file your protest, May 15th is the general deadline. However, there may be circumstances where you may have a later date. If you've got a later date, it will be on your notice of appraised value. Pay really close attention. If you don't see it and you're not sure, file your protest by the May 15th deadline. Again, you will always be safe if you file by May 15th. Also really important for property owners to understand, when you're protesting to the appraisal district, you are protesting the market value of your property, not your property taxes. Again, the amount that you pay in taxes is actually calculated based on the budgets and the tax rates that are set by the taxing entity. So the taxes is a separate issue, and you would need to address that with your taxing entities. And again, our website, travistaxes.com, will provide you with a lot of information about the budget hearings and those tax rate hearings. And it provides you a mechanism for you to actually, on that website, give your feedback to your taxing units about how much you're paying in property taxes. But your appraised value, your market value, is something that we can address here at the appraisal district. And it's important for some people to understand, because there's a lot of property owners that have a very strong benefit of their homestead limitation. If you protest your market value, and even if you get a reduction in your market value, it may not change your taxable value. And that's because the difference between market and value and your assessed value can be substantially different. So in this example, the property's market value is $601,000, but because of the benefit of their homestead limitation, their assessed or net taxable value is only $338,000. So even if they got a reduction in their market value to $500,000, it's still not less than their assessed value. They're still going to have a better benefit from that assessed value limitation than any change in that market value. So it will not reduce the amount of taxes that they pay. Again, market value is redetermined every year on January 1st based on sales that have occurred in the last year, and it's looking to see what would your property sell for as of January 1st. The assessed value or net appraised value is calculated based on last year's appraised value, and it really depends upon when you qualified for your homestead exemption. But that is a state mandated calculation. The percentage calculation that we use is 10% as set by the legislature. If that changes, then we will change the calculation. But right now that legislation is it's a 10% calculation. And then finally, your net appraised or assessed value minus any exemptions that you're entitled to becomes your taxable value. And that taxable value is what they calculate and multiply by the tax rates to determine how much you would pay to each taxing entity. If you want to file your protest, and again, May 15th is the important deadline to remember, but filing a protest, you can file your protest online. And we encourage that because it is the fastest and easiest way to file your protest. When you file online, you're going to get immediate confirmation that your protest has been filed. You can upload your evidence or any information that you want the appraisal district to review, and we will upload to that taxing unit portal, that online portal. We'll upload any evidence that the appraisal district has. So if you just want to see what evidence the appraisal district has, file your protest online. We'll upload that. Usually that occurs within 24 hours of you filing your protest, and you can see the appraisal district's evidence. And then if there's any offer to be made based on either your evidence or our evidence, we'll also make that offer online for you, and you can accept or decline that settlement offer all online. You can also do it in person. We've got a drop box right outside of our office, or you can put it in the mail. I will say if you drop it in the mail, it's really important that May 15th deadline, your envelope must be postmarked by May 15th. So if you are close to the deadline, I would say go into the post office and physically go to the desk and make sure that they postmark your letter so that you've got an appropriate postmark. Because if it comes in after that date and it's not postmarked, then it's not considered timely. So again, we strongly encourage property owners to file online. Again, it's the easiest, fastest way, and you get confirmation that your protest has been received. Again, online, I can't stress that enough. If you want to get our evidence, file your protest online. If you file your protest online, you don't have to send us a written request for your evidence. If you file it by paper, then you've got to give us a written request requesting your evidence. And if you do it by paper, then that evidence will be mailed to you 14 days before your formal hearing, which means there may be a wait for you before you get to see your evidence. Again, if you file it online, you don't have to file a written request, and it'll automatically be available for you online in the portal. Generally, that'll occur within 24 hours. If you don't have an online account yet, check your notice of appraised value for your protest instructions and for the PIN number that you're going to need to set up your protest. That is going to be on your notice of appraised value that you received in the mail. Now that PIN number is, it's a security code for you. So we don't put that on the version of the notice of appraised value that we post on the website. So if you don't have your paper copy, please contact our office to get your PIN number, and we will get a PIN number sent out to you. Again, don't wait to the last minute, because there's always high call and high demand. And if you wait to the last minute, we may not be able to get back to you in time. So we encourage you, if you don't have your PIN or if you've lost your paper notice of appraised value, contact us now so that we can get you that information so that you have it before your protest deadline. The informal process, we actually started doing our informal meetings April 17th, and we will continue doing informal meetings through June 30th. Again, if we do an informal, if you file your protest online, we will send you an electronic offer. And again, if you file your protest online and you've got some evidence or information that you want us to review, I will say at the time that you file your protest, go ahead and upload your evidence and make sure that that's available to us. Or if you want to meet with us informally, you can upload it before your appointment time so that we have it available and we can look at it together when you come call in for your informal meeting. But again, online is the best way. You'll get an electronic offer. The informal meetings, we are doing those by phone or video conference, and you can discuss with an appraiser. We'll automatically do an offer to anybody that uploads any evidence to us. We'll make you an offer, but you can also come back and have an informal meeting with an appraiser, and there may be another offer after your informal meeting with the appraiser. Informals are available on a first come, first served basis. And we've got a website, Get in Line Online, that you can go to schedule your informal meeting. There is only one informal meeting per property owner, and you only get one formal meeting per property owner. So you get one of each, but there is only one meeting that you get. And again, evidence must be submitted and processed beforehand. So we encourage you to upload your evidence. It's the fastest way to make sure that we get it timely. If you mail your evidence in, you need to make sure that you mail it in plenty of time for it to be received by us before your meeting. Again, if we've got an offer, if you submit evidence, our offers will be submitted and sent out to you within 48 business hours. Again, our informal meeting times, we started April 17th and we'll be continuing through June 30th. You can get in line online, go to traviscad.org, get in line online. And from that website, you can schedule your appointment time, or you can get in line for the same day queue. If you don't choose to do either one of those, but you request an informal, we will schedule an informal date for you based on our availability. But you cannot reschedule an informal appointment. So we strongly encourage property owners that have specific requirements for a date and time to get in line online and schedule your appointment for a specific date and time. And we will give you a call at your scheduled time. If you get in line for the same day queue, you didn't pre-schedule your appointment, then you will be in the queue and we will get to you as we have availability. But we will give priority to those property owners that have scheduled their appointments. So everybody that has a scheduled appointment will be first in priority, and then everybody that got in line for the same day queue will follow behind them. But you will have options for both. I strongly encourage property owners, get in line online and schedule your appointment date. You get to pick what is most convenient for you. But again, don't wait until the last minute to do that, because we've got specific time frame that we're allowing for scheduling. And if you wait too late, somebody else might schedule for the date and time that you preferred. So get in line online, schedule your appointment out as soon as you can. When you get in line online, we're going to ask you to provide your name and phone number and your scheduled appointment time. At your scheduled appointment time, an appraiser will call you at that number you provided in your appointment. And if your phone number accepts text messages, we'll send you a text update to let you know the status on your online. So if it looks like we're running a little bit late, we'll send you a text message so that you know to expect us to call you a little bit late. But we try to make sure that we're making those calls at the time that your appointment was scheduled, which is why we give scheduled appointments the priority when we're talking about our informal appointments. You don't have to do an informal. That is, again, optional for you. We encourage it, but it is optional. But if you choose not to resolve your protest, or if you have an informal meeting and you don't get the offer that you would like, you still have the offer and the ability to go to a formal hearing with the Appraisal Review Board, and you can present your evidence at the Appraisal Review Board. Now, the Appraisal Review Board is an independent entity. They are appointed by the local administrative judge. The appraisal district does not have any control over the Appraisal Review Board. Again, they are independent and appointed by the local administrative judge. They are not TCAT employees. And again, they are there to listen to the evidence as presented by the appraisal district and as presented by the taxpayer, and they will make a determination of what the fair market value of the property is based on the evidence that is presented to them. So if you don't resolve informally, you still have an opportunity to go before the ARB at a formal hearing. Formal hearings all will occur during the summer. They'll start sometime in June. Your hearing will be scheduled by the Appraisal Review Board. They will schedule the meetings, and you'll get a scheduling letter of when your scheduled formal hearing time is. So unlike the informals, where we give you an option to get in line and choose your date, for the formal hearings, those are actually scheduled by the Appraisal Review Board. And those letters will go out to you. If you are still pending a formal hearing, you'll get a letter in the mail telling you when your formal hearing is scheduled. If you don't receive the letter, you can look online on our website, because we will also post on our website what your scheduled formal hearing date is. So it's going to be available. You're going to get it in a letter. But again, if you misplace your letter and you know you saw it, but you can't remember, you can always go online to our website and look it up on the website as well. At your hearing, the ARP will listen to the arguments and evidence presented by the property owner and the appraisal district, and then they'll make a decision at the end of the hearing. After that, you will receive a notice of final order via certified mail, giving you the value as determined by the Appraisal Review Board. If you're not satisfied with the decision that the Appraisal Review Board has made, then you still have some options to appeal that. You can do so in binding arbitration, or you can go to district court if you would want to pursue your protest further beyond the Appraisal Review Board. You can participate in the ARB hearings. You can do it in person. Our building is located at 850 East Anderson Lane. You can do it by affidavit, meaning you send a letter explaining your protest, the reason why you feel that your value should be whatever it is, and any evidence that you want to present. Or you can do it remotely. And if you are doing it remotely, we'll send you the instructions to you on how to connect to your remote hearing. It's important for property owners to be aware that the ARB's got a lot of volume that they've got to go through, and it's important for you to arrive at your scheduled appointment time. Do not arrive early thinking that you'll be able to get in early. They are really book solid, and they are taking property owners in the order that they have been scheduled. And even if you've been scheduled, there's possible that you may have a wait time. You can wait up to 2 hours for your scheduled time before you can reschedule a request. So if you show up at your formal hearing and you've been waiting more than 2 hours beyond your scheduled time, you can go to the ARB and request to get your hearing rescheduled. So the question that we get a lot is, what can help me lower my property market value? And the big answer to that is just evidence. Provide us your evidence to support why you think the value should be something different than what the appraisal district presented in its evidence. And oftentimes what that can be is that can be a sales price. If you recently purchased your home last year for less than the market price that we've got on it, then you can just present us with your signed and dated closing statement. Again, we're looking for sales from January 1st of 2022 forward. So we're always looking in hindsight at what happened in the previous year, but you can provide us a copy of your closing statement. Again, the easiest way to do that is to file your protest online and upload that evidence as part of your protest documentation. And once you do that, we'll take a look at it. And if it is a market value arm's length transaction, we'll send you a settlement offer to settle your protest at your sales price. If you didn't recently purchase your property, but you know of other sales in your neighborhood that you think are comparable, you can ask a realtor or broker to provide you with some comparable sales. That report should include the address, the date of the sale, and the sales price amount. And the comparable home should be similar in size. If you're a one-story, make sure you've got a one-story comparable, and that they're comparable in terms of age and quality of construction, maybe amenities. If you've got a pool, look for other comps that may also have a pool, and also be close in proximity. Again, the time frame that we're looking at is we look at sales from January 1st through February 28th of 2023. So we're looking at 13 months of document. Now, providing these additional sales don't guarantee a reduction, because we also will weigh in any evidence that we have, but they are helpful for you, and you may be able to present some information that maybe the district doesn't have. Also, look at your property characteristics. If your characteristics are incorrect, there may need to be a correction that we need to make on your property. Check the website. We provide a lot of information on our website. Look at things such as square footage. Do we have you listed as having a pool or a garage or a fireplace that your property really doesn't have? And a special note on the square footage when you're looking at the square footage. When you purchase your home, you get a square footage from your builder, which is the square footage based on interior measurements. But the appraisal district measures all properties from the exterior. Again, we don't have the right to go inside your home to measure, so we measure all properties from the exterior. So there might be a slight difference between our measurements and what your builder has told you. Again, if you file your protest online, there will be included as part of your evidence packet a field card, and that field card will have a sketch of your property, and it'll show you what the exterior measurements are, and you can go through and measure your home yourself, just to make sure that our sketch measurements match the measurements of your property. Again, we measure all properties from the outside. And then if you've recently built your home, you can present us with the as-built construction plans with the dimensions. And again, it must give us the dimensions from the exterior, or a current fee appraisal that has a sketch that's been done with exterior dimensions. And we can look at all of that information regarding your property characteristics. If your property has any specific damage and is in need of costly repairs, then please present us with current photos of the problem. And if you've got any contractor bids for the renovation or repairs that would be required, or an engineer's report with a cost of repair. So if you've got termite damage and you're going to have to do a lot of costly repairs because of termite damage, or you've got foundation issues and you'll have to do a repair because of the foundation issues, or if you received some of that recent really large hail and you had hail damage, you can provide us a copy of that. We had the ice storm as well that may have caused some damage. Now, it's important to note that our assessment date is January 1st. So we're looking for damage that occurred prior to January 1st. Any damage that occurred after January 1st is damage that would be represented on next year's appraisal. So again, we're looking for January 1 is our assessment date. And then also if you've had any insurance settlement reports. Other documentation that may be helpful for you to present to us, if you've got survey or floodplain information, if you are in the process of building your home and it's not all 100% complete, you can provide us with your construction draw information. Again, our assessment date's January 1st. And so if your home was only 50% complete on January 1st, those construction draws will kind of give us an idea of how much value you had in place on January 1st. If you've gotten a recent fee appraisal, a lot of times people will get a fee appraisal if they are refinancing their home. If you've got a recent fee appraisal, you can submit that recent fee appraisal as a evidence that you've got for your property. And then if you've got a commercial business and business personal property, you may want to submit to us your operating statement or your rent roll with a 3-year history. Or if it's business personal property, you may want to send us a copy of your asset books and records. And so those are things that'll help for other types of property other than residential. Again, submitting your evidence must be submitted and processed in advance of your hearing. You can do it online on our portal. And again, we recommend that. That's the fastest and easiest way for you to do it. You'll be able to see, confirm that we have received it once it's processed online. You can also drop it off in person. We've got a drop box, and you can do it by mail. Again, if you're doing anything other than the online, we recommend that you do it 10 to 15 days in advance of your hearing date. And that's just because there's some time for the mail to get delivered to us. And if you drop it in the mail the day before your hearing, we will not have received that timely before your hearing, and we will not be able to act on that one. So again, evidence must be submitted and processed in advance of your hearing, but you can do it online, in person, or by mail, and any of those methods are appropriate. Things to avoid, really important things to avoid, is don't wait until the deadline. Again, I can't stress that enough. We get a lot of people that wait until the day before the protest deadline, and our customer service representatives aren't available to answer calls. You can't get a PIN number at the very last minute, so you can't file your protest online because you didn't have the PIN, but that's because you waited until the last minute. You wait until the last minute to try to get in line for your informal, and all the dates that you wanted are already scheduled. Again, I can't stress enough for property owners, don't wait until the deadline to take care of business. Start taking care of it now. The sooner you get in, the sooner we can meet with you, the sooner that you can get the evidence that you may want for us. Be real careful when you are comparing price per square foot, because you need to make sure when you're looking at that price per square foot that you are taking into account all of the amenities of that comparable property. Again, if your house is 1 story and theirs is 2 story, or if you don't have a pool and they do have a pool, there are going to be differences. We say, look at the characteristics of those properties when you're making comparisons. And the last thing is, don't argue about your property taxes or tax increases. Again, we can talk to you about the market value, what the property would sell for, but how much taxes have gone up, that is an issue that needs to be brought before the taxing entities that actually make those budgets and set those tax rates. Again, stress it. I can't stress it enough. Don't wait until the last minute. People who submit their protest early, you'll have more time to resolve your protest. You'll have more time to set up for your informal meetings. You'll have more time to gather your evidence based on the feedback after your informal meeting, and you'll have more time to contact our customer service center for help. So don't wait until the very last minute to take care of business. And again, don't wait until the last minute to file your protest. Easiest way to do it is to do it online. If you have trouble paying for your property taxes, we want to make sure that you're checking to make sure that you have filed your homestead exemption. Again, homestead exemptions are one of the easiest ways to save money on your property taxes, because the exemption will remove some value from your market value, and that'll lower it and give you a lower taxable value. So you can file a homestead exemption for your general residence homestead exemption. You can also layer on top of that either an over 65 or disabled persons exemption if you qualify. There's also disabled veterans exemptions that you may qualify for, and surviving spouses of people that are over 65, disabled or disabled veterans may also qualify for an exemption. If you are over 65 or a disabled person and you can't pay your taxes, you may also ask for a deferral of your taxes, which means when you request a deferral, it means you do not have to pay your taxes for the time that you have the property deferred. Now, the deferral does accumulate 5% interest, annual interest on that deferral, and that amount of deferred taxes doesn't go away. It is due 180 days after you no longer qualify for the deferral. So if you're deferring your taxes and you sell your home, those taxes, those deferred taxes will become due. Or if you pass away, your heirs will need to pay those deferred taxes. And then really important for you, if you're going to file your homestead exemption, remember to include the required documentation, which is a copy of your Texas driver's license or your Texas ID. And the address on the driver's license or ID must match the address of the property that you're claiming the exemption on. We also have an online portal for filing your exemptions. And we encourage property owners to do that because it'll give you a reminder to include your documentation, your driver's license. Most often we see people that paper file their exemptions, forget to include that documentation, and we cannot grant an exemption without that required documentation. So we encourage you to go to our online website to file your exemption. Again, we have an exemption webinar that we did on our website. So if you go to traviscad.org/webinars, we've got several videos all about homestead exemptions. And then finally, we encourage you to get involved in the process. Go to our website, travistaxes.com. It gets updated in August when the taxing entities start setting their budgets and setting their tax rates. And again, it's going to give you a lot of important information about what is the budget that they're setting, what is their budget hearings, when will their formal tax rate hearings be, how can you give them feedback, and it gives you that online mechanism for providing feedback through that online portal. Again, August 7th is when that all starts. And the very first step that your taxing entities are going to do starting August 7th is they are going to calculate and publish a no new revenue and a voter approval tax rates. And that is something that changed in 2021 that all started. No new revenue is the tax rate that would bring them in the same amount of money that they got the previous year. And that's the no new revenue rate. If they adopt any rate above a no new revenue rate, they are increasing your taxes. And then there's a limit to how much they can increase your taxes. It varies depending upon the type of taxing entities. School districts have a different percentage than your city or your county, but they've got a limitation. It's between 2.5% and 3.5%. And if they go above that, then they must publish a voter approval tax rate. And if they go above the voter approval tax rate, then it has to go to a vote of the an election with the voters in the November election. And again, whether or not there's going to be a voter approval, or if they've gone above that voter approval tax rate, is all going to be on that travistaxes.com website. The state felt it was important enough that they also created a website to help you get to it. And that's texas.gov/property taxes. And you can go online there. You can find your appraisal district, your county, and then you can get to that same website. But it's really important for you to stay engaged and be aware of that other side of the equation, because that is equally important. Again, if you want to file your protest, you can file it with us. It's traviscad.org/protest. and there's a lot more information. This webinar will also be recorded and be available for you on our website, on our webinar. So if you want to revisit it, or if you want to share it with a friend, you can go to our website, traviscad.org/webinars, and do a replay of this one. And I've got about 10 minutes, so let me go into the Q&A, and we will answer as many questions as we can from Q&A. So it is, can Zillow be used as evidence for the price listed? No, what Zillow gives you is they will give you a Z estimate, but they don't give you the actual sales price. You need to have actual confirmed sales prices for that. So no, a Z estimate that you get from Zillow would not be evidence that you could submit, because it's not a bona fide indication of the sales. It's Zillow's estimate, but it's not based on actual sales data. Should we hire a third-party appraiser versus asking a realtor for comps? What carries more weight? Okay. That's a really good question. If you get a third-party appraiser to provide you an appraisal and you contract with them to do that for you, that is actually stronger evidence than asking a realtor for evidence. Now, those third-party appraisals, you know, they are expensive. You know, they can range for residential property anywhere from $400 to $500. But if you think it's worthwhile, a lot of times we see this. Most often people will have gotten that fee appraiser if they need to refinance their home. You'll be getting one of those reappraisals, or if they've got to do it for insurance purposes, you may have gotten a fee appraisal. And I would say, you know, save yourself the money, make that fee appraisal that you've already paid for work dual purposes for you. Now, if you're going to do it, it has to be done within 180 days of our assessment date. So you can't use a fee appraisal that you had done 4 years ago. That fee appraisal has to be a recent one within the last 180 days. Is the info we provide for the protest subject to Public Information Act? It depends on the type of information that you provide. But yes, most of the information that is provided as part of a protest is subject to public information. There is certain data that may be held confidential, but it really depends on the type of data that you are providing. Should the protest improvement value and land value separately, or just the market value as a whole? You can only protest, we're protesting the market value, the property sells as a whole. You can protest your market value. If you want to talk about the individual components, you can, but those are really allocations. We really want to look at what is the market value of the property as a whole. So market value is what you're going to be protesting to the appraisal district. Just to confirm, when filing the protest, are you utilizing the last 90 days of comps from today, or saying 90 days? Okay, so when we look at comparable sales, our date range for sales that we use when we developed our models goes back to January 1st of 2022, all the way through February of 2023. So we're using 13 months of sales data. You can come in and provide any market data that you've got that's available to you, and we will look at it and consider it. But our assessment date is January 1st. So we want to make sure that we've got data that encompasses that January 1st assessment date. If we protest, does the market value have to be reduced below the assessed value to get any benefit from the protest? And the simple answer is yes. If your value does not go below that assessed value, then it's not going to make any difference in your taxable value, because again, it's your assessed value minus your exemptions that calculates your taxable value. So if you protest and you get a reduction in your market value, but it's not below your assessed value, it will not have any impact on the taxable value that is actually used to calculate how much you will pay taxes on. Can we still protest online if our property information is restricted confidential in the system? Yes, you can still go online and you can still protest online. If you are a confidential property owner and you're confidential by law, then it just does not show on our general website, but you will have that information available to you on our online portal. For the offer sent out within 48 hours, is that 48 hours after filing the protest or after the informal meeting? Okay, it's typically 48 hours after the informal meeting. We will give you our evidence generally within 24 hours of you filing your protest, and we'll give you our evidence. We like to wait to see if you have anything that you want to submit to us for us to review before we send you another offer. So you may get an offer before you actually have scheduled if you've uploaded evidence for us to review. But any offers that we will make after an informal meeting for you will be posted online within 48 hours of your informal meeting. How long will it take to receive the evidence when submitting the protest by mail? Okay, the evidence when you submit your protest by mail, your evidence will be mailed to you 14 days before your formal hearing. Now, your formal hearing can be scheduled anytime between June 1st and September 1st. So it'll be 14 days before your formal hearing. We don't know when your formal hearing will be scheduled, so it could be a long wait if you file your protest by mail. If you're anxious and you want to see your protest immediately, you want to see your evidence immediately, then we recommend filing your protest online. And a lot of property owners will ask, I just want to see the evidence. Do I have to file a protest? And the answer is yes, because our Texas is a non-disclosure state, and a lot of the sales data and the market data that we have is confidential, and we're only allowed to release that if a protest is filed. So you need to file your protest as the trigger that allows us to give you that information. So yes, if you want your evidence and you want it as soon as possible, we recommend filing your protest online. What is considered an arm's length value for a comparable sale? That is if the property is sold between a willing buyer and a willing seller, and they're not related, and neither one of them are having undue exigence, which means there is no undue pressure for them to be able to make their sale. So in a market where foreclosures are not the norm, a foreclosure sale may not be considered an arm's length transaction. A sale between a parent and their child would not be considered an arm's length transaction. So those are some of the tests that we do for arm's length transaction. Could a third person represent or help in this protest process? Yes, there are a lot of property tax consultants that assist property owners. You can hire a property tax consultant. You can request that your lawyer or your broker, if you give an authorization letter, you can have a family member represent you in your protest. But if it's not somebody that is an immediate family member with an affidavit or a letter of authorization to represent you, they will need to file a formal appointment of agent form with the appraisal district in order to be able to represent you. And that is typically done through a property tax consultant. At the formal hearing, does the ARB make an offer? And if they do not accept my opinion, an offer below TCAT's value? Oh, that's a very good question. So at the formal hearing, it is a fresh start when you go to the formal hearing. So if you had submitted evidence, if you had had an informal with the appraiser, and we had made you an offer in order to settle it at the informal, and you choose to reject that informal offer and go to the formal, then it is a fresh start. And we start talking about the evidence as it relates to how we presented market value. So your TCAT offer is no longer on the table at the formal hearing. The ARB is not going to make you an offer to accept or reject. The ARB is going to listen to your evidence, and they will listen to the evidence from the appraisal district. And then they will, based on that evidence that's been presented, they will weigh it and make a determination. They will send you a letter. They'll let you know at the end of the hearing, verbally let you know at the end of the hearing what their determination is, but you will also get a formal letter of board order from them with the final values by certified mail after your hearing. If you do not agree with the determination as made by the appraisal review board, then you as a property owner have the option to continue to pursue the protest. You can go to binding arbitration, or you can go to district court. Next question is, if I didn't protest my market value last year, will that impact my protest this year? No, each year stands alone. So we're looking at market data from this year. If you did not protest last year, that is not going to negatively impact you. Again, it's going to be about what evidence that you have to present this year about your market value. Again, our assessment date is January 1st of each year. So we're looking for what is the current value of your property this year. Okay, And I think I've got time for one more question. If we hire a company to protest on our behalf, is there anything you need from the homeowner in terms of involvement, or can the company show up on our behalf? Okay, so if you hire a company to show up on your behalf, there's nothing more that you need to do. As an owner, you are giving that tax consulting company authorization to represent you. You are giving them authority to present evidence on your behalf, and you are giving them authority to resolve it on your behalf. So you don't need to do anything more. Any communication about the results of the hearing is something that would happen between you and your consultant that you've hired. So you don't need to do anything else. And I'm going to sneak in one more question here. It is, what happens if you sell your home while you're protesting? So if you sell your home while you have filed a protest, you can either continue to pursue the protest because you were the owner as of January 1st, or the new property owner can step in your shoes and continue to protest because they are now the new owner of the home. So if it sells during this time period, you can either pursue it and continue to do it. And that may have some benefit for you because I'm sure at escrow, you guys have kind of allocated who pays how much, and that may benefit you as somebody that has to pay escrow, or that new owner can step in and continue that protest as the new owner. Well, that is all that we have time for. I thank you guys very much for attending our hearing, our webinar today. Again, if you have any additional questions, you can contact our customer service department. We also have questions that will be posted on our website, and we'll answer that. And this will be recorded and it will be posted on our website. So again, if you need to go back and review any of the questions, or if you want to share this with friends, we encourage you to do that. The website is traviscad.org/webinars. And again, thank you very much for attending this year.